Welcome to the MLMsuccess.com podcast, the show designed to return the network marketing industry to its roots of personal growth, leadership development, and wisdom of the ages success principles. We share with you real success stories from real people that we hope will inspire and encourage you personally and help you progress forward in your business and your life. We believe if you build people, people will build the business. Now here is your host, who has been called the number one mind in network marketing, the MLM Prophet, network marketing virtual mentor, and a host of other names that we will not mention because this is a family show. Frankly, he's just a small town guy that figured out that the real product in network marketing is people. Dale Calvert.
Hey, this is Dale Calvert. I'd like to welcome you to this session of the MLMsuccess.com podcast. I appreciate you being here. I hope things are going well for you and your family during this trying, challenging times that we're going through. That's really what we're going to talk about. This is going to be probably the last time I'm going to mention coronavirus for a while, I hope. But I appreciate all the emails and the text and the comments that I received regarding last week's podcast, and I just wanted to just kind of tie a bow on it, so to speak. Last week was much longer than normal. I had a lot I needed to get out of my head, but I'm glad a lot of you were able to follow along and received benefit from what I shared. We're going to continue down this path, not really continue, but try to put a bow on it, as I mentioned earlier, to the very best of my ability. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do something a little bit different for the next week afterwards, which I'll explain at the end of this session. I appreciate you being here, as I mentioned earlier. Let's just stop and let's just think about this, where we are as in the nation with this this corona outbreak. It's unbelievable. We're all at a place that we've probably never been, thankfully. But I think there's great opportunity. I sincerely do. And that's been my approach. And when you look back, let's say 5 years from now, when we look back on this time and place in history, how you handled this time and place, if you could handle it to the very best of your ability, what would that look like? When you look back 5 years from now, we get down the road 5 years and we turn around and we look back at this time and place in history, the time that you have, the break that you have, the time to stop, think, listen, is very unique. It's very unique. It could only happen from this type of situation. Now, granted, none of us wanted it, but I've told Dawn many times, I said, if the world could just stop for a couple of years and let me get caught up with all the projects that I have dangling, I feel like that it would be a lot better. It would be such a blessing if I could just get the world to stop and let me get caught up with all these projects and all this stuff that we have going on. I would appreciate it. Now, I'm not asking for a 2-year break, but I am saying that we have a unique time right now. How long that time's going to last, none of us really knows. But we have a very unique time and place. We're at a unique time and place in history. We have a unique opportunity, and to not recognize that, you've got to recognize the opportunity that you've been given, that we've all been given. So when you look back, how did you handle it? How would you like for that to look? What did you gain from this time and place in history? What did you gain? What realities did you get internalized? Did you have a breakthrough? Did you have a breakthrough? Because I believe this time and place in history gives us the opportunity to have a breakthrough. Did you have yours? Or did you miss it? Did you miss the opportunity to have your breakthrough? See, I understand and have taught a concept for years. Normally, when you come out of a conference or an event, this time and place in history is much more powerful than any time, place, event that you'll ever experience, because you got to get real. It's not emotional, it's reality. It's getting real with yourself and your thoughts and your plans and your goals and your dreams, and where do you want to be in 5 years? What have you accomplished in the last 5 years? And there's a lot of intelligent questions that you can ask yourself during this time of quietness, of more peace. It's not like coming out of a conference or an event where your emotions are sky high. For many people, their emotions is just trying to keep their emotions stabilized at this point and free of fear. And I get that and I understand that, but I'm also trying to communicate this is a very unique time and place. And you can get to a place emotionally and psychologically that you've never been before. You can get to a place emotionally and psychologically that you've never been before, that you would not have been able to get to in normal day-to-day activities, the grind, the day-to-day routines that we've come out of as a country and as a world over the last week or so. It presents a very unique time and place, and I tried to communicate that to the very best of my ability last week, and some of you I know got it, and a lot of you thought Dale's gone crazier, and I appreciate that, and I get that from every angle. You know, Dale, you got your head in the sand and blah 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 blah, and I appreciate that. I appreciate it because I know some of you receive that which I tried my best to communicate. So, what can you do right now during this time? What can you really do that will pay you the greatest dividends in the future? What can you take the time to do now that maybe you couldn't take the time to do a couple of weeks ago that will pay you the greatest dividends in the future? And I'm going to share with you an email that I got this morning from Andrew. I've never met Andrew. I'm just going to share the email and then we'll talk about it a little bit, because for some of you listening, this is the step that you know if you stop and think about it, and now's a good time to stop and think. But this is the step, I believe, for many of you. But let me get into Andrew's email here. He said, Mr. Calvert, my name is Andrew Potash. I am 23 years old from a small town in Idaho, Post Falls. In 2017, I was looking for a way to change my financial trajectory. I was working at a dead-end job in a kitchen at a resort near my apartment. I first heard you when you were the guest speaker on a network marketing company's webinar. I was thinking about joining the company, but I never did. But after hearing you on the webinar, I was a regular on your Thursday night webinars just for the motivation and the wisdom. I eventually found onlineauctionu.com and started buying, selling, and flipping items on eBay, Amazon, Poshmark, and several other platforms, which eventually allowed me to quit my job, and I've been a full-time flipper for the last 3 years, doubling the money I was making in my kitchen job. The reason I'm writing is just to tell you that I invested in your Programming Your Mind for Success program back in 2017, and I followed it without missing a day. To say that it changed my life and helped me develop the confidence to take chances and believe in myself doesn't begin to describe the positive impact that that course had on my life and continues to have as I review the information constantly. And I appreciate that you keep adding more videos and case studies to the membership. In lieu of all that is happening with the corona outbreak, the old Andrew would have been scared and broke. Because of your mentorship through the webinars, podcasts, and Programming Your Mind for Success course, I am confident, prepared, and level-headed. Keep doing what you're doing. There are many of us out there who are listening that you have never met and don't even know about. I look forward to meeting you someday in the future. Keep telling the truth. Eventually, people like me will wake up and start taking action like I eventually did. Andrew. Andrew, I look forward to meeting you someday, and congratulations. The Programming Your Mind for Success program was there. It was available. You took advantage of it, but more importantly, you implemented what was in it. The most significant phrase in that email was, I followed it without missing a day. And that's on you. That's not on me. You did it. You just took the information, the wisdom of the ages. It's been there forever for all of us. It's so clear that a lot of times we look right through it like we're looking through a pane glass window. We see right through it sometimes when things are so clear, but not you. So I'm sure you're listening, and I appreciate you taking the time to send the email. And that brings me to what I wanted to share with you guys. Some of you know, because I had another conversation with a friend of mine last week, and he said, Dale, you really need this. This is the time when you should really open up the Programming Your Mind for Success program. You should open that up again and make that available for people, because people really can benefit from it with everything that's going on in the world with the coronavirus. And I open that once a year. It's just, and there's reasons behind why I do it. But talking with my friend that I truly respect, here's what we're doing. And this is for only people who listen to this podcast, because I'm just not going to send out emails or anything. I'm not making a big deal out of it. I'm just not. But for those that listen to this podcast and maybe you have not gotten in on the Programming Your Mind for Success, if you send a email to support@mlmhelp.com, they can send you a special link where we are going to take members in that course right now, only because of what's going on around the world. And I agree, there's nothing that can be more valuable to people than to really wrap their minds once and for all, get their mind in the right place, period. Develop the brain cell patterns that will last them the rest of their life. So when more tragedy and more challenge comes, it doesn't control us. So again, if you're, thanks Andrew, and if you have an interest, support at mlmhelp.com, and they will send you a link if you would like to become a Programming Your Mind for Success member. So we are going to reopen it. Now, I'm going to give you 3 tips that I think these are the 3 most important things that I'm doing. And so take it, use it if you can. The most important thing, guys, during this time, this is a time of massive, massive opportunity, a chance to really make a huge impact on your future. When we come out of this, it's what are you doing right now is going to determine how things look when we come out of this. See, a lot of you are making this an excuse But the reality is you didn't have nothing going on before the coronavirus. Let's just get real. A booming economy, and you were just kind of hands tied, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of what somebody else is going to think about them, wasting time, watching cat videos, not thinking about where am I going to be in 5 years. So don't, you can use this as an excuse, and that's fine. But see, what kind of excuse are you going to have when we come out of it on the other end? What did you do during this time to prepare you for your future? I mean, really, guys, this is a unique time and place in history. It really is. So what are you going to do with this small window of opportunity that you have? I'll share this with you, and then I'm going to get into the 3 tips, and then we're going to wrap it up. I'll share this with you. My Dawn, my wife, her dad is 89 years old. His oldest sister passed away last week. She was 92, and they'd called in hospice last week, and Dawn took her mom and dad down to South Georgia, where they were raised, where her aunt lived, and because hospice had come in, so she got her parents down there to see her aunt, her dad's sister, and she came back and she said that was an awesome visit. It was really good, and they really connected, and she was aware, and she wasn't as mentally out of it as I'd been told that she was, and they just had a really good visit, and they said their goodbyes and came home. So she did the right thing, and was thankful that she had the opportunity to take her parents, to see her aunt, and then she passed away, and the funeral is today, and a couple of people in Georgia have been to funeral homes, 2 different people, 2 different families, but the same funeral home, and have gotten sick and have passed. One was, I think, in their 40s, Dawn said, and one was in the 60s. I'm not sure, but it doesn't really matter. Here's my point: is Dawn's dad was asked to be a pallbearer, and it was hard for him to understand that, you don't need to be a pallbearer and don't need to be around at your age, and some of the health problems that you've had, you don't need to be in that environment. And long story short, a lot of the funeral homes here are doing now online funerals where people can attend the funeral online live. So it breaks a lot of traditions, and it changes things. And, it's hard sometimes maybe to explain to a 90-year-old man, who was honored to be a pallbearer, why they cannot be in that environment at this time and place in history of what's going on within the world. And so, make a long story short, they're having the funeral. They're going, and the funeral will be broadcast over the internet. They're not going inside. They'll be able to watch it from their car, and then they'll be able to go to the grave site and, be there and see and experience it at the best that they can. The point being that everything has changed, even funerals. And when Dawn gets back, my goal, and I've been trying for a week now, but and people are going to say, Dale, you're absolutely crazy. But it's like, we can right now. For me, it's about basketball, March Madness. It's in my blood. It's just what I've done my entire life, and it's gone. Okay, and I it should be gone. It was the right move. But even funerals are being changed, and things are changing, and that's where we are. And it's hard for people to really wrap their mind around, how quickly things have changed, and we want to be in a state where we act like we did 2 weeks ago, and that's not that world does not exist right now. And then people can't think level-headed. They aren't thinking clearly. So now there's a run on toilet paper. Why? Because everybody else is buying toilet paper, so I guess I need some toilet paper. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So for me, it's like with the way I look at things and the way I don't worry about that which I cannot control is, let's go to Hawaii. We could get on a Hawaiian cruise for 2 weeks. Don't have to worry about fixing meals. Don't have to worry about anything. Let's just go and cruise to Hawaii. It's March Madness anyway. There was nothing major scheduled during this time. There never is because of March Madness. So let's just go on a 2-week cruise. Now, she thinks I'm crazy. Dale, that's the worst place you could be. Well, here's my thought. When it's my time, it's my time. When it's time to go, it's time to go. I don't want to be stupid, but you can't go on a cruise ship without them, putting hand sanitizer in your face every time you walk in a cafeteria or into the dining room. And they say, well, that's the worst place in the world to be. Yeah, but if you got the whole cruise ship to yourself, basically. And again, I'm not, I would do it let's go. I would do it for sure. I don't think Dawn ever would in a million years. And my middle daughter, I was telling Channing, I said, I'm trying to get Dawn to go on a cruise. And she said, Dad, and she thought I was crazy. And she said, well, I'm just glad that Dawn is strong enough to tell you no, and you're smart enough to listen to her. So, but that's kind of where I'm at with all this. And I think that's kind of my point. It's like, I learned years ago that 97% of what people worry about never happens. And a guy taught a concept called a worry jar. And when you find yourself worrying about something, instead of just beating yourself over and over with it mentally, just write it down, put it in your worry jar. And then every 30 or, and don't think about it anymore. It's in your jar. And then every 30 or 60 days, go in your worry jar and pull out all the things that you were worrying about, and you'll realize how many of them never came to pass. Now, I don't begin to know what's getting ready to happen in the world economy, or, will baseball be played this year? I don't begin to know. And I have no control. So because I have no control, I refuse to spend any thought on it. Because when you're spending thought on those things that you cannot control, you know what happens? You miss that which you can control. You miss that which you can control. Some of you are members of our Programming Your Mind for Success program. I want to tell you that some of the best time that you could spend right now is to go back through those videos and that program. And if you never completed it daily, started again, now's the perfect time. It's a perfect time to do that, because I am so thankful that I'm in a situation where I don't know how to worry about that which I cannot control. I don't even know how to do that. My mindset is not capable of getting there. Now, I remember when I could be that way, but that was a long, long time ago. That was before I took the time to daily, consciously, consistently reprogram my mind. Your mind can be reprogrammed, and now is a perfect time for that to happen, where you can get control of your self-talk. You can, and it's more difficult than ever because of reality around us and what's going on. I get that, but it's also maybe one of the best times for you to say, you know what? When we had all that ruckus going on in the coronavirus time, I decided that I was going to take that time and I was going to start the process to reprogram my mind for success, because the next time a tragedy hit, I wanted to be more prepared. I wanted to be more prepared. So let me give you the 3 tips. Number 1, don't watch the news. Don't watch the news. The last thing I have seen on the news, I'm not posting on social media now. I haven't read one social media post since the White House lawn address with President Trump and the health professionals and the corporate CEOs. And some of you, if you haven't seen that, I hope you did. But if you haven't seen it, since that lawn, White House lawn presentation update where the coronavirus was declared a national emergency in the United States, I saw that. That's all I needed to know. That's all I needed to see. I haven't been on social media since. I haven't watched the newscast. Don't plan on it. Now, last night I did run across, some of you know that I was a semi-professional magician for many years, and I ran across one of the most talented dove acts that I've ever seen. I think the kid was from Taiwan, and it was beautiful, a phenomenal act, and I shared that on Facebook last night just because I felt like some people may need their patterns interrupted. And I said something like, if you need a 5-minute break, go check this out, and gave the web address of this dove magician that's phenomenal, just because I thought it might bring a smile to somebody's face to watch this kid and how talented he was. I'll put the link in the show descriptions if we can remember. If you want to go check him out, he's awesome. But other than that, I'm not on social media. I'm not watching the news. If it's important enough, I'm going to find out about it. And I just, this is the time where we really have the opportunity to focus and to implement. We really do at a different level. I mean, most of my days are spent in personal education and implementation. Most of my days, every day. I love it. I love learning. I love implementing. Because knowledge without action leads to self-delusion. So, but now I have the opportunity to take that to a whole different level, as you do. So I think it's a really good question right now. What can I master during this time? And the number one thing you can master is your own self-talk. Is the number one thing you can do is reprogram your mind for success. And if it's already programmed for success, to take it to a deeper, stronger level. But again, it may be something else for you. I don't know. You're different. I'm different. You know more than I do. Maybe now is the time that you need to dig in on how do I really generate leads consistently for my business? What are the proven lead generation techniques that have worked for 10, 15 years? What are some of the newer things that maybe I could be doing with Pinterest or other social media platforms? Have I ever mastered how to use drop cards? Have I ever mastered some of the basic fundamental lead generation techniques? postcards, direct mail? Do I need to master lead generation right now? Is that the thing that I can master right now that is going to make the most impact, positive impact on my business when we come out of this? And when I look back 5 years from now and I think, man, I learned so much about lead generation and creating leads during that time. And now I can benefit from that foundational knowledge for the rest of my career. Is that it? I don't know. You got to figure it out. But whatever it is for you, to thy own self be true, and get it done. Get it done. Well, Dale, where do I start? Local MLMleads.com. There's a webinar there. LocalMLMleads.com. That's a good place to start if that's what you need to master right now. So, a good question, and I'm going to give you 3 tips and I'm going to shut up. But a good question is, what do I need to master right now? What is the skill set? What are the mindsets? What do I need to do right now that I can do if I turn off the daggone news? What can I do now? What can I focus on that will pay me the greatest dividends and rewards in my business in the future? What is the answer to that question? Do that. Do that during this time. So number 1, I don't watch the news. If it's important enough, I'm going to hear about it. A relative's going to call something. If it's really critically important, I'm going to hear about it. The rest of the stuff, it gives me I don't care. I mean, not that I don't care, but how many people died in Indiana last week is not something I really need to be putting in my mind. It is what it is. I cannot control it. I cannot change it. You can't either. I just got to be as smart as I can, use as much hand sanitizer as I can, and do it, and not go down those horror stories. I don't need to fill my mind with that stuff. You know, it is what it is. If it's something critically important, I'll learn about it at that time. Again, the world I live in, if March Madness hadn't been canceled, as far as I'm concerned, all coronavirus was is people worried about running out of toilet paper because another swine flu type something's going around. That was my mindset. I just don't buy into all that stuff. Don't have time. Too focused on the right stuff, and I don't care. And say, Dale, your head's in the sand. Okay, maybe it is, but it's in a sand that is productive. You know, most people's head is in sand watching all the horror on TV and worrying about not having enough toilet paper. And in my mind, your head's in the sand. Your head's in the sand. Well, Dale, you're not based upon any kind of reality. Look, I'm based upon my reality. I'm based upon what's going to move me forward, what's going to challenge me, what's going to help me move forward and challenge me and be a benefit to me, and listen to all this same terrible story after same terrible story on network news is not the answer for me. I know me. I don't think it's the answer for anybody. So, number 1, my opinion, and again, Dale, you're radical. Well, yeah, but I'm also programmed for success. I'm programmed. We must act in accordance to our program. I cannot help it. I don't know how to be any other way. I'm programmed. I'm programmed to be as productive as I can, to understand I don't have all the answers, but to understand what's really important, to understand the 7 key areas of life. Everything revolves around that, as I talked about in last week's podcast. And if it doesn't fall into those 7 key areas, then I just can't go there. I'm not able to, thankfully. So number 1, turn off the news. Number 2, stay connected with your family. and not your negative ones, but stay connected with your family. Take the time, text your grandchildren, call your parents. I've talked to my parents more in the last week than I probably have in the last 6 months over the telephone. I was supposed to be in Kentucky in March, as you guys know, for the Sweet 16 basketball tournament, which I am every year. And we didn't make that trip for obvious reasons, and the tournament was canceled. But I miss that time. I miss being with them. My parents are up in age, so I want to make sure they're doing okay. So I've connected more with family. Connect with family. It's a good thing to do. Number 3, and I've said it throughout this podcast, don't let this unique time and place in history pass you by. Don't let it pass you by. You have the opportunity right now to make great strides. Well, Dale, it's not, people really aren't conducive to buying products or joining companies right now. Did I say anything about creating customers or new distributors? Did I say anything about that? It has nothing to do with what I've been trying to communicate with you. It's about what can you master now that's going to pay you the greatest dividends after we've come through all this and in your future. That's what it's about. Where can you have a breakout? Where can you get to a place emotionally, psychologically that you've never been before? What can you do? You know what the answer is. You know what the answer is. You really do. And maybe for some of you it is. I'm going to get really educated on lead generation. I'm going to get my mind reprogrammed for success. I don't know what it is. There could be many other things that's going to be in your best interest right now. Maybe it's just time for you and your spouse to just really focus on your relationship. Maybe there's relationships in your life that you need to mend with family members. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Maybe you need to take your communication with your kids to a different level. But I do know this, that whatever it is, there's people and there's resources and there's mentors that can help you. But look behind the curtain, as I've always said. Look behind the curtain. Whatever area of life that you want to take to a different level, use this time to do that. That's my hope for you guys. It really sincerely is. So the 3 things you can do. Number 1 is don't watch the news. Number 2, stay connected with your family. Number 3, don't let this unique time pass you by. Don't let this unique time pass you by. Now, I'm going to change gears on you and we're going to wrap up. I've got a lot more than I thought. A lot of questions in that you guys have been asking, and I just haven't taken the time to get in there and ask them. So here's what I'm going to do. This might give you something to look forward to, or maybe it won't. But this is what I'm going to do so I can just knock it out, because I might be going to Hawaii after Dawn gets home. Oh, that's not going to happen. I wish it would. It's not going to happen. But what I'm going to do is the next 7 days, there'll be a podcast every day for the next 7 days. And really what it's just going to be is just answers to people's questions. So we're going to do that for the next 7 days. And if you have questions, for me, honestly, I wish this whole podcast was just answering your questions. Because, and I might move in that direction. Because I think people get value a lot of times from that if they're at that point on their journey. I also think a lot of times questions are way over people's heads and they don't get value. But for the next 7 days, we're going to answer questions. And we're going to do a podcast every day for the next 7 days. I haven't told Brandon yet, but I'm sure he'll be able to help me out with this goal. And next 7 days. Every day you can tune in. We'll answer a different question from one of you guys. We already have plenty. But if you have a question you would like for me to answer at any time, all you have to do is go to mlmhelp.com. Top left-hand corner, click the Ask Dale button. And it might take me a while to get to you, which, again, I apologize. I try to get in there every week and answer. Maybe I don't answer them on this podcast, but I try to answer each individual every week. I've gotten behind this time, but I've done a pretty good job of that, of keeping those updated and responding to people. But if you have a question you'd like for me to answer about anything, just go over to mlmhelp.com, mlmhelp.com in the top left-hand corner. Click the Ask Dale button. You can record your question right online, and I will answer them. Guys, I hope this has helped you. I hope you decide, I'm going to get to a place emotionally, psychologically I've never been before. I'm going to really work on my self-talk. I'm going to get into personal development at a different level. I'm going to really study, subconscious mind, conscious mind. I'm really going to get into that and really try to take my mentality, my attitude to the next level, or whatever it is. Whatever it is, I hope that you will decide to take advantage of this time and place that we are in history and do whatever you can do. So when you look back 5 years from now and you think, man, that coronavirus, people were crazy, worried about toilet paper, going nuts, fearful of everything. And I took that time to dig in, focus, really, really become self-educated in this topic and look at the rewards and the benefits that it's providing me now. That's my hope for you. You guys have a great week. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one.
If you haven't gone over to iTunes yet and rated and left this podcast a review, what are you waiting for? At Calvert Marketing Group, we want to spend our time on the projects that we know are providing the most value for our clients and customers. You leaving us a review and feedback on iTunes is something that helps us more than you realize. And more importantly, it helps others like you find us. So if you've not taken the time to rate this podcast, please go over to iTunes and do that for us now. It will only take a couple of minutes out of your busy schedule. Work harder on yourself than you do on your business, and we will be back next week with another inspiring success story, wisdom of the ages training, or answers to your questions.